Set, go.
Hi, everybody. It's howdy doody time.
Howdy doody time.
I like it.
Anyway, thanks everybody for coming. We're going to change up the format a little bit here tonight. And for those that couldn't make it here tonight, we're recording this and it'll be made available to you tomorrow. Dorothy made a suggestion in our weekly meeting that we do with each other about going ahead and following Dr. Anderson's material. And actually at the convention this year in July, he's releasing his new Habits of Health. So I think this is a great month to go back and look at what we've all learned and what we've all experienced. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now. You know, I wonder what would happen if I just picked the PowerPoint. I might do that when I'm with you, Dorothy, one day and just see how it goes when it changes from screen to screen. We got us a new Huddle Up screen. Isn't that awesome? Teaming.
Cool.
Fun. And if I could have a volunteer to read, I would appreciate it.
I'll read.
Okay, go ahead.
Since the publication of Dr. Anderson's groundbreaking first book, Dr. A's Habit of Health, there has been increased recognition of the dangers of obesity and the pressing need for effective tools and programs to assist the army of individuals suffering from its consequences. Dr. A's Habit of Health offers concrete steps worth taking if you are one of the 35% of American adults who are obese today. It's a wonderful guide for those who are willing and able to make a change in their lives. However, many people are not quite ready for its message of change and thus are unable to benefit from the clear blueprint Dr. Anderson provides.
Okay.
The goal is to awaken the desire and lay out the directions and choice that supports health. This book can help a lot of people overcome their resistance or doubts, declare health a priority, and then do something effective to make that happen. Such behavioral aspects, which includes dietary options and choice, as well as options and choices about physical activity, appear to be the number one contributor to the now global epidemic of obesity. What we eat and how we respond to our increasingly stress-filled lives and other triggers that lead to inappropriate eating are key factors that we can change as individuals. Good. Want me to keep reading? Or?
Sure.
As the founder and director of the Johns Hopkins Weight Management Center in Baltimore, a clinic and research program devoted to helping people who are obese, I've treated thousands of individuals with weight problems. In the course of my work, I've struggled to reach people who are not ready to change but really need to, either to prevent health problems before they appear or to stop the progression of already existing disease. There are precious few tools and resources for many people who need to change but need help beginning that process. Dr. Anderson Books offers a simple, practical way for people to transform. I should change to I want to change, to I am changing, to I have changed. And he does so by building on the small, easy steps. While this may be counter to our tendency to view changes as an all or nothing progress, changes in fact often accomplished most readily when it is gradual, a journey. In the journey that you're about to take, make actual changes in your diet and health are some of the last steps in the process, not the first, and this is how it should be. The ultimate goal is to continue this forward movement until optimum health for the long term, not the short term. As Dr. Anderson guides you along this path towards optimum health, a process that will look difficult for each of us, keep in mind that the decision to take our health into our own hands is the critical first steps and perhaps the hardest. Once you make the firm decision and Prepare yourself with knowledge and skills the rest of you may find surprisingly easy. Good luck to your journey to optimum health. Dr. Lawrence J.
Jessica.
Director and founder of the Johns Hopkins Weight Management Center.
Quite an endorsement, wouldn't you say?
I would say when you talk Johns Hopkins in nursing, that's one of the tops.
Right. So we haven't done this in a while, and we have a new person in the room. It's Dorothy's friend and new client, Jolynn. And I'm going to introduce myself because I started this program in October of 2010. And the progress is there, and that's the picture of me just in March. That's 7 years after my last picture of when I lost weight. And the picture really doesn't tell the story. The lipid panel tells the story. And you can see how much changed in me health-wise. My cholesterol went from 230 to 135. The HDL went from 37 to 32. The triglycerides, 124 to 74. And the LDL 168 went to 88.
Wow.
So you think of this as losing weight, but what you really should be thinking about is regaining your health and keeping your health. I too have a coach. Her name is Gay. Not everybody has a lot of weight to lose, but everybody has a desire to be healthy and live their optimum life. Tony, when I got on the program, he didn't jump at it. I actually started telling him about it, and he wasn't on board. And what we agreed to, Marcia will laugh at this, is I said I'll try it 30 days, and if it doesn't, see, I told you, and if it doesn't, if we're not satisfied with the results, I just won't order food again. And then 2 weeks in, Tony, you want to tell Tony?
Well, yeah. What happened was I looked at the food and I said, can anybody do this? Can I have some of that? And she says, oh, yeah, you can try it. Well, I tried the oatmeal and I loved it. And I tried another and I loved it. And I took a bar and I loved it. And about the time that I took food from her, she says, if you're going to do this, get your own food. So at which time I says, okay. So I ordered, got my food, lost 40 pounds on it, and I have stayed that way since then. I have not gained. I got down to 184, I think it is, and right now I'm 183.9. So I 2 or 3 pounds one way or the other, but I've never been much higher than 189. And I was 240, I think, at the time, or 230 when I lost the weight. So yeah, it works.
Congratulations, Tony.
Wow.
And then this is one of my favorite stories. Marcia, will you share with all of us again?
When you see the picture of me with Dick with the bees, we were in New Orleans. Shortly after that, I came home and Dick was gone. And I was in the back of our home in Mary D, and I had a sugar reaction. My sugar went high, and I almost didn't make it from one end of our house to the kitchen to take an insulin shot. I took it, and I sat down at the table, and I started crying, and I said that I knew I was going to be a diabetic. I knew I was going to have problems. My mom, my dad, my sister, and my brother have all had diabetes. My brother lost both of his legs to it. My sister is still having problems with it. But I sat there, and then it hit me that, you know what, nobody forced me to eat these foods, and I was eating really bad. And so I decided I had to do something, and I had been watching Connie. I've known Connie for a long time, and I saw how she seemed to have a lot of energy. She was looking better, and so I called her, and I said, Connie, I want to talk to you about the program, or the diet you're on. She said, it's a health program. I said, well, I would like to talk to you. And she said, I'm having a meeting tonight. You're welcome to come. I met another diabetic who had gotten off of all of her medicines. I decided to, after the meeting was over, Connie always asked at the end of her meeting, is anybody got anything to say or ask? And I said, Connie, I want to try this program, but I'm only going to try it for 30 days. And everybody in the room laughed, and I'm looking at Connie, and she says, people tell her what? And I said, that's what we all say. By 3 weeks, when I had gone from taking large amounts of insulin and Lantus down to almost no Lantus and stuff. And I eventually got off of all my meds but 2, my thyroid, and my one doctor would not take me off of cholesterol because I was still at the high end of normal, not the low end of normal. And so Dick had watched me, and the picture of Dick in the scooter is him in February. It's actually February 14, 2012. And he had said something about, well, he would go on the program, but he said he wasn't going to go on it before the cruise was over. This was Dick's his bucket list, was to see the Panama Canal, and that is him. And we are on our way up to see it from the deck because he could never leave the ship in the 10 days we were on it. But he got home, and he didn't say anything, and so I called Connie after we were home, maybe a week and a half too. And I said, Connie, I don't think he's going to do it. And she said, what do you mean? I said, I don't think he's going to do it. And she said, well, that's funny. He has an order on the way. So he had called Connie. And that is him with the hand on the red car in June. He started in February, and that was him in the end of June. And then my daughter had wanted to quit smoking, but every time she did, she gained a lot of weight. So she called and she said, Mom, the program you and Dad are on, I want to go on it. She went on it. She lost 58 or 62 pounds, something like that. And she called me one day and she says, well, how would you feel about being a grandmother again? Now, I thought it was my oldest daughter, who I knew didn't want any more children. And I said, Missy's happy about this? And she said, oh, Mom, she's thrilled. And I go, she's thrilled? She's pregnant? She says, no, Mom, I am. Colleen had tried for years. And finally, about 4 years before she got pregnant, she had decided that she would never have children. And that she lost the weight. She did it healthy through the program. And the little boy between Dick and I is our special baby, Connor. And he was 3 in January.
Amazing.
And you might notice Dick is without oxygen and he is without wheelchair.
Yep.
At my meetings, Marcia come one night, Dick wasn't with her, and she was disappointed. I said, you're not his coach, leave him alone, he'll do what he wants to do. And we started the meeting, I closed the door, and then here comes Dick bopping in, no wheelchair and no oxygen. Pretty much ruined the meeting. All we did was talk him the rest of the night. But he was quite a story. And we got a few extra years. We lost Dick just recently. But we almost lost him 7 years ago. So by him getting himself healthy, we had him for a few more years. Thank you, Marcia. Anything else you want to add?
No, just that what I can't imagine what Dr. A must feel when he hears all of the stories of the people he has helped with one little step he took. And look at where it has led all of us to.
Yes. Thank you. And next we have our Dorothy.
Hi. Let's see now. How should I start this story? In 2011, I had been threatened to go on diabetes medication because I have type 2 diabetes. And my brother-in-law, who Connie had coached him, come up from Florida, and he was telling me about the program, and he kept his weight off. He's lost like 52 pounds, and he had kept it off for 2 years. And so I decided that I was going to go on the program. And I went on the program. I lost my 40 pounds. And my husband got to see me at my high school weight, and I lost him about a month after I reached my goal. But I've been able to maintain my weight now for 6 years. And of course, that picture in the bottom is my husband, and the other one is my daughter, Dawn.
Wow. That's great. That's unbelievable.
Dorothy,
Yeah.
do you mind sharing about Joe wanting you to be a coach and about
Yeah.
how you were?
Yes. He, oh, Lord, I can't remember how I wrote it. Yeah, he just felt that I should go on and become a coach. With tears in his eyes, he said that I should go on and be a coach. Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. And Dawn is in our room as well.
Yeah, that's a good picture, Dawn.
Yeah, it is.
It is, yeah, with the blonde hair. Oh.
And last but not least is our other coach, Miss Lisa. Lisa is my niece, my brother's oldest child.
Wow, just looking at these pictures getting me emotional. Okay, so the top pictures, first of all, let me say that I am so lucky that Aunt Connie, aka Mommy as I call her, it was very opportune that she came through from a conference at a time when I had a little bit of weight that I wanted to lose, but it really wasn't so much my weight that concerned me. It was the fact that nothing, absolutely nothing that crossed my lips was of any nutritional value. So I started the program, and the top right picture is me in September of 2014. I lost about 40 pounds and was actually back to my high school weight. So that was pretty awesome. And as I continued this journey, I had bipolar disorder. Let me back up. I had bipolar disorder for 25 years, and I had been through medications, shock therapy, major yo-yoing of the weight. At one point in time, I weighed 285 pounds. So the most phenomenal thing about my journey is that within 3 days, and I remember this distinctly, within 3 days of starting this program, I felt like I was in high school again. I felt healthy, I had energy, and I had hope. And so that was pretty phenomenal. This absolutely changed my life. So as I continued, I decided to become a health coach, because if you love what you do, you never work. And I have the greatest example to follow with Mommy, who was so passionate about helping others. And I'm just very blessed. And finally, I would like to add that with my most recent health crisis, that being in the hospital for the past week, I couldn't help but reflect on how different the outcome could have been had I been like I was before I started this program. So I feel very strongly that making the choice and having this family to support me, again, drastically changed my life. And I'm so very grateful.
Thank you, Lisa. So we're going to listen to Dr. A tonight. I have found a video that he did in May of 2016, so it is a little outdated, but the information never changes. So let's go ahead and get that started. And can everybody see it? Is it loading?
I'm excited about being here today. We're going to be talking about a recent
Can you see it and can you hear it?
development, something that just happened this week in
Hold on a minute.
in the literature, and was broadcast out to our nation.
I want to share with sound. I did not share with sound. Okay. Thank you.
Hey, I'm gonna listen, but I got to be right back.
All right. Okay. All right. So everybody can see it, right?
And I think it's a very important time for us to interact together and really clear up some confusion and really spend a little bit of time focusing on what we can do together to help change the health of America and then very shortly the world. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and start on a little presentation I've created that will basically hopefully clarify some of the questions you're having. So let me go ahead and start this. And can we see that okay? Great. Well, anyway, we kind of call this the death of diets. And, you know, over the last several years, I've written quite a few books on focusing on how do we help people create health in their life. And dieting is something that has always kind of been a bugaboo because people try it, they want to get healthy, they want to lose weight, and they end up failing. So I think this week, why we're talking about that is the New York Times came out with a expose on the science of fat. It's from The Biggest Losers. There was a study released this week in the Obesity Journal really looking at what happened to people that most of you probably are familiar with The Biggest Losers, when they went on these programs. What was the long-term effect? You know, we celebrated and saw, you know, with flash and you know, runway lights and celebrate these celebration of these people that lost all this weight, and they called them the biggest losers. And so the NIH did a study and actually looked what happened long-term to these people. Did they lose the weight? Did they keep it off? What was going on in their lives? And it's pretty startling. And if you've read this and you've been on a diet before, or you've tried to lose weight before, or you happen to be overweight, or you're not feeling very good and you have diabetes and your doctor said to lose weight, I don't want you to lose hope or lose faith, because there's still an amazing way that can happen. Fortunately or unfortunately, most of you aren't going to be on TV anyway, so we've got a system that works for anybody that desires more in your life. So I want to go through that. This slide really kind of shows what it's a summation of what happened during that study. If you look on the left, and not to get this complicated, so I kind of left all the numbers out, but bottom line, if you look at the left, all those people that's on the left side where they started, you can see by the end of the program with that solid horizontal bar being at the top, almost all of them but one. You see the one person in the blue, but other than that, the other 19 all gained their weight back. In fact, some of them, as you can see, actually gained more weight than they were at before they started the program. And we're going to talk more about that. We're going to echo that about diets and why they don't work and why we have to start thinking in a diet mentality and start focusing on actually creating health in our life. The scary part, and the part where it may have some of you dismayed, is on the right side was the slowing of metabolism. And we talk about that. People say, I have a slow metabolism. But the reality of what happened in this, for the majority of it, and you can see, by the end of the study and by the end of the 5 years, the metabolism didn't really return to normal. When you lose weight, you're going to lose, your metabolism is going to slow down, which means simply the amount of energy you consume in a 24-hour period, because you're losing mass, you're losing weight. You have less cells that are full of fat, and so you're going to expend less energy, and that's natural. But we always thought that over time that would come back on its own. Well, this study shows that it probably isn't going to come back on the own, and this is really the exclamation mark that says, do not go on a diet thinking a diet by itself is going to create long-term change. We're going to talk more about that, and I'm going to bring on somebody that did it a very different way. So why don't diets work? Well, in 2003, you know, I started talking when I left critical care to focus on helping people create health, and actually affiliated with a company that was making amazing ways for people to lose weight. And I really analyzed it and said, you know what, this is a great way to lose weight, but losing weight and creating health are very, very different things. So in 2003, which is now 13 years ago, I basically said diets don't work. 85% of people that lose weight gain it back within 2 years. Those aren't very good odds. 2007, the year before I wrote The Habits of Health, which was released in 2008, UCLA came up with an amazing culmination of looking at a ton of studies and showed that not only do diets not work long term, but actually people that have been on a diet are more likely to be overweight or obese than those that have not been on a diet. And actually, this is the introduction to The Habits of Health. That's the first thing I put there front and center. We need to realize that, and you know, that was written in 2008, which is basically 8 years ago, and yet still, it isn't to this point that we have the audience now to finally declare the moratorium and the death on diets and start focusing on people creating health in their life. We want people to be successful, and we don't want people to fail, and we know now that things need to change. So why doesn't it work? Well, it's problem solving. You know, when you solve a problem, it doesn't get rid of, it just gets rid of what you don't want for a short period of time. It doesn't create what you do want. It's also a restrictive period of time where people think they can do something they don't want to do use their willpower, use the, whatever the idea of the week is, and then when they're done with it, they can go off it and go back to the way they were before. And it just doesn't work that way. And so what happens is we don't change the underlying environment, the underlying structure, or behaviors of the individuals. And so that's why they gain the weight back, because you can't fool, as a good friend of mine, Robert Fritzwood, said, you can't fool mother structure. So should we do nothing? If actually going on a diet is worse than not going, should we do nothing? The answer is absolutely not. These are some curves that come out of the Habits of Health that really show our current health path. We are born optimally healthy, and we go through a period because of all the forces against us living in the modern world. Chaotic life, too much food, sedentary lifestyle because we're sitting at our computers and not doing things like we used to, a lot of stress in our life, but all those things put us on a path. Over time, we go through this period optimally healthy, non-sick, where we're not actually taking medicines yet till we get sick. And the forecasted path, if we don't take responsibility ourselves, we are moving to the left and we're going to start getting sick earlier. Why do you not want that to happen? Because there is a progression in our adult population. If you look from being overweight or obese to insulin resistance, 70 million Americans, a fourth of our population, has insulin resistance, to diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and unfortunately poor quality of life, and with that being on a lot of medicines. So in our society, we are 5% of the world's population. We consume 50% of the pharmaceuticals in the world. We are using drugs to treat the symptoms where our body's telling us, hey, we need to change our behavior. We need to change our orientation and start focusing on health. And in essence, what we're doing, medicines are crutches. We have this visceral adiposity, this fat cells that are in our middle, and they're releasing all these bad things, triglycerides, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, high blood sugar, and we have drugs standing by in the business of medicine, not physicians. Physicians want to make you healthy, but the business of medicine with 4 minutes to take care of you, here's an answer to that symptom. Here's an answer to the next symptom, and that is not helping us create health. Because this isn't a model of health. This is not a model of health. In fact, as William Osler said back in 1900, it never has been. One of the first duties of the physician is to educate the masses not to take medications. But then you say, okay, after generations, don't step on it, looking at the scale, because it makes you cry. We're frustrated. We don't know what we do. If we don't diet or don't know how to control the weight, what do we need to do? So I want to ask you a question today. This is a question we should be asking. It's a question I've now asked since I left critical care, reacting to disease every day. If we could take control of our health, would we want that? Would we want that to become reality? So that's what we've been working on. So we're going to talk about something very different than problem solving, trying to get rid of your weight. We're going to talk about creating optimal health and well-being. If you look at the kind of this drop of water around us, I want to start thinking about, can we create this micro environment of health, this bio-network, this optimal health community that can now put you in position to create optimal health for you in the future? And the answer is absolutely yes. But you have to go back to our design in our lives. Our DNA, our structure, we were designed to conserve and store energy. Yet we live in a place, and 10,000 years ago, you had to go out and really look hard to find food. You had to scavenge all day. If you found a berry bush, you sat down and you ate those berries. And that's why we evolved 40 billion fat cells, so we could store that food to make it through those times when we didn't have food. Or going out with a tribe to go ahead and find a woolly mammoth to bring down and then use to feed your family. Well, I guarantee you that when you go to your refrigerator today, you have a 100% chance of finding food. You're going to bag some food in your refrigerator. So what we needed to do is we really need to focus and say, you know what? Creating health, which is what our focus is, and optimal health and optimal well-being being the end point of that, is to allow people to organize their life around what matters most and to be in position. So we're creating this scaffold. So think of this as evolving into a scaffold that has multiple different layers that we build over time so that we're rock solid. Because there's going to be times when we're not as good as other times. There's going to be times when you're on vacation. There's going to be times when we have stress in our life. So we want to make sure we've created a structure, this place I showed you before, where we can gather around an optimal health community and basically do the things we need to do. Yes, our calories in are more than our calories out for 70% of us. We're having fat accumulation. And in the first phase, we're going to help you lose weight. But as you lose weight, we're going to start progressive exercise from the comfort of your home. teach you how to get out and move more throughout your day in both your leisure and in your work, and put you in position so now you're in command throughout 24/7. We want to create more optimal days for you. So by the time we've reached a healthy weight, you're now equipped with all the things you need to be healthy and successful. So this is the new health path. Most people are on the path, the lower path, the one that's red, the one that shows the current diet with fast food, high glycemic, too many calories, inactivity, probably not the right sleep. You know, we think sleep is a luxury, but it is a key part of not only reaching, but maintaining a healthy weight and certainly creating optimal health. Being overweight and increasing stress is such a big parameter in our everyday life, and how can we help you manage that? Inflammation, sarcopenia being, you know, when your muscles start turning to flab, and then obesity and becoming sick. For most people, as I showed you earlier, we're moving from optimal health to non-sick to sick. We need to intervene, and what's neat is simply by changing your orientation, how can I create health in my life? Starting to work on things like our 5-in-1 program, Be Slim, increasing activity, learning how to sleep over time, we can change the trajectory and create optimal health. What's cool about that, we've gone a step further and actually looking at your overall well-being in the key areas. You know, the Gallup poll came out and looked at the 5 key areas, which we can put into 3, which we call our trilogy, which allows people to focus on their physical, their mental, and their financial. And then by moving their score, we're creating that scaffolding for people to be able to now move forward through those adverse times, knowing that growth, reaching a healthy weight, creating optimal health is a process, and that process is something that you want to learn how to do because you need to do it every day for the rest of your life. We rent optimal health. You don't reach it, achieve it, and then say, I got it done, and then go back to the way before. But we still want to do it in a fashion so you can do the things that are most important to you. And rather than go over all that with you, what I'd love to do now is bring on one of our clients, one of the people that have actually embraced this idea of a comprehensive approach to health and are now living it. So, Shirley, are you there?
I'm here, Dr. A.
Well, it's great to have you on the call, and I think for everybody, I didn't mean to startle them, but as you look at the left, you certainly would have qualified in your previous state. Cliff probably wouldn't have, but you would have qualified for the getting on that TV show, The Biggest Losers.
Yeah, I'm not sure I would have survived the show, but yes, and and I'm really glad that you're addressing this issue because honestly, like the life that I was living is the life of many, many people who are really, really battling their health. They don't know their way out of it. I was in my late 40s and was really quite certain that I wasn't going to get to see my 50th birthday because I weighed close to 400 pounds, Dr. A. And it wasn't because I didn't want something else. I just didn't know how to change it, and I couldn't sustain the willpower long enough to change it. And I got to tell you, just for those that are listening in who maybe are in the same position, I'd kind of gotten stuck. I just assumed there was nothing I can do to change this, so I adapted my life because I didn't believe change was possible. So, I mean, when you're close to 400 pounds, walking is very painful and very, very difficult. A trip to the grocery store is exhausting, and quite frankly, it's excruciatingly painful. I'm a social butterfly. But if you are invited to a social event and you're not sure that the chairs there are going to hold you, you don't go. So I think the fact, and of course you're a physician, I don't need to tell you all of the medical issues that go with being close to 400 pounds, but it was frightening me, and I was really certain I wouldn't get to see my 50th birthday. And I wanted change, but like I said, I couldn't sustain the willpower long enough to create real change, and that's about the time I met you. I don't know, do you want comments?
Well, I'd love to just make a comment. I just want to say something because you know what? People start beating themselves up. You know, I know you and I had talked about being on over a dozen diets in the past, maybe even more. You lost count a long time ago. And you know, every time when you failed, you started basically thinking, wow, you know, I'm not good. I'm bad. I can't do this. I don't have the willpower. Well, I can tell you right now, here's the news flash. Willpower is not any way, shape, or form ever going to have anybody make sustainable changes, lose the weight and keep it off in this crazy obesogenic world. The underlying structure won't support it. And by the way, if we looked at well-being and looked at those, and it wasn't studied in The Biggest Losers, But if you watch those people, their well-being went up some because, we showed earlier, and we'll finish and give everybody a resource to be able to work with their coach to figure out where they are in terms of their own well-being. But well-being in the beginning for those biggest losers went up because their physical health got better. They were being celebrated on TV. Their self-esteem went up, and they started feeling better. And they probably in that window of their life, that season of their life, they felt great. But then, when the cameras went off, they went back to their real world and hadn't truly changed the underlying structure or orientation for their life long term, the weight started creeping on. And, if we looked at their well-being scores, not just that they're metabolic, and I know for people because they're concerned that your metabolic rate goes down, and at the end of those 5 years, their metabolic rate was down, making it harder for them to lose weight. But more important than that is their well-being was probably less. I don't know. I didn't interview them, but I would just say unless they made some fundamental other changes. One of them got gastric bypass surgery. They actually had them perfectly go in and rearrange their body because they pretty much gave up that they couldn't do it themselves. But the rest of them, if you look at their well-being scores at the end, they're low. Now, if you have low well-being scores and you're not fundamentally having created that scaffolding for yourself over time, it's kind of like preparing, the ant and the grasshopper, right, about preparing for the future. If you're not preparing for the future and realizing that we need to take responsibility individually and collectively, we're going to find out it's going to start raining and snowing, and the grasshopper's going to be out there shivering, and the ants are going to be, down going like this. Same thing here. If people want to create health, they need to understand right now, here's the full disclosure. It's going to require work. It requires you to raise your hand and say you want to do it. But now let's track that, because I think that's the key part. I know you brought on the Habits Health. I know you used our skills and our strategy and our amazing tools to start losing weight like we showed in the other slide. But more than that, over the last 5 years, as I look and track, your well-being scores continue to go up. But before we do that, let's talk. You lost the weight, 215 pounds, and we could say you live happily ever after like in Cinderella, but that ain't so, is it? You did actually gain some weight back, didn't you?
Sure. Yeah, I did gain a little bit of weight back, but honestly, during that time period, and actually, I think the thing that was really cool for me as I started getting healthier was like all the thing, I got it. People said, "Oh, you must have gotten the life you always dreamed of." I said, "I never, ever dreamed this was possible." I started hiking mountains in Utah. That was the picture you showed. That was just incomprehensible to me before. And honestly, if I may, Dr. A, probably, like swing dancing with my son at his wedding, incomprehensible. Holding our first grandchild minutes after she was born, I will forever be grateful to you for that, because I didn't think I was going to get to meet her. And so I think on this journey to health, like you said, it is small incremental steps. And the reality is that willpower does not work. People have heard my story and said, "Wow, you must have great willpower." I said, "No, my willpower stinks." But like you said, I've got this scaffolding, this structure, and I've got this optimal health community to support me. So I don't have to be afraid that weight is ever coming back. Now, I know you asked me a question, Dr. A, and I don't remember what it was.
That's okay, because I don't remember what I asked you.
I got tied up with that grandbaby. You know me.
Because I want to make sure, because this might get glossed over by people that are listening. So what we're talking about are all these cool things happened over the last 5 years by being in this community, focusing on the key parts, starting to organize your life around what matters, learning the Habits Health. And actually, one of the things, you didn't just like, boom, read the book and on day one learn everything. It's been a process. But the whole point is, we're not trying to make a this massive breakthrough that all of a sudden everything's good. It's a process. But with the process, if we focus on getting a little better, starting to sleep a little better, handling stress a little better, working on moving more, focusing on being a little more diligent when you go out to restaurants, and staying with this community, staying with the process, now you're on track now to get down to back to the lowest you ever were, and now your focus is by the end of August to be actually at your healthy weight, your BMI weight, which would put you in the healthy category since the first time since you were in the 3rd grade. Now that says a lot. And so for people listening, if they're looking for the magic amplet today, no, we have a comprehensive approach. We have a community. We have amazing coaches to help support people. And we have a series of things once you take responsibility to make sure you don't gain the weight back. So let's talk about just that last part before we open this up for questions and I show people where they can learn more. What is fundamentally, by creating that scaffolding and having those pieces, there's still stuff, there's days when you have days when they're not so cool, right? The stuff gets in the way. But why do you feel now that you're now progressing? And if we can track, and I'm not going to show the slide of it, but basically we can see now that your weight is not only stabilized, but now in this period with high well-being and using the habits health and mastering them, getting better and better. And actually just, a few months ago, some stressful things were happening, and we started adding a component of meditation. For the first time in your life, you started meditating, spending just a few moments, creating that quiet time to kind of get control of that angst and stress, that systemic thinking, as one of the later developments. So you've been making little things, but why now, after 5-6 years, unlike the Biggest Losers, by the way, where every one of them relied on just what they ate, and now are scrambling or trying to use just the diet versus the comprehensive. Why do you feel so confident now that, this next few months, you're going to nail it, get the weight off and be healthy?
There's a couple of things. I mean, one is the fact that this habits of health system that you've created really does make it simple. Life change isn't necessarily easy, but honestly, the steps, when you break them down, those small incremental changes, it's incredible. And when you do that with a community of support, that is also incredible. And so even for me, with a small percentage of weight gain, the concept of being able to take that off, not a big deal, because again, I've got the support because you've put all that infrastructure there. And I think, like you said, we're not just losing the weight. I'm creating health. I mean, I started to lose the weight. And very soon, about 2 weeks in, realized, oh my goodness, I'm not just losing weight, I'm actually creating health. And that was a significant shift for me to make this really be something that is true lifetime lifestyle change. And so to be at a place where I don't have to be afraid the weight's coming back is just incredible for me. I think, like you said, optimal health, it impacts every area of your life. So it's not just what I eat. It's also talking about, how am I, getting moving? How am I sleeping at night? If I don't get a good night's sleep, probably the health choices I'm going to make the next day aren't going to be real great. And like you said, the things you were teaching me, Dr. A, about how to respond to stress better. Just taking a couple moments in the morning to be still and to be quiet. So many of us, I think, don't do that, but it makes a huge difference in how the rest of my day goes. So when you start putting all those things together, it's like, well, yeah, this is pretty simple to follow. It's not nearly as hard as I thought it would be.
Yeah, no, I love that part. And so let me just show, before we quit, I just want to show, I'm going to bring back and share my screen. I want to show everybody basically, because, some people may not know what they need to do, where they need to go to. Can you see that? Can we see it? Is it showing up? Okay, let me show you this slide. Can you see that slide now? Okay, so basically, there's all kinds of people. We have thousands of people on this call, which I really appreciate. People really want to learn. We have people that are just looking, people that are candidates, people that are already clients with us and working with our coaches. Bottom line is, if you have a coach, get with your coach. If you're concerned and you've heard things here, think, wow, I really want to dial that in, get with your coach. They can make those next steps. I wanted to show those for those of you, just to give you that next step. Obviously, you want whoever invited you here today, get with them. They can show you a lot more about what we've been talking about. But this is a free ebook you can get, and if you don't have access right now to a coach, you can go to habitshealth.com and get that. And I would read this first 2 chapters, which will take you 5 minutes, and in it is actually that well-being evaluation, the one I showed you right. Sit down with the person invited you on the call. Dialing into our Optimal Health community is to understand the full connection of that. They'll help you. They're all versed in learning the habits of health. They'll help you move forward. And the most important thing, just being around like-minded people that are now focusing on it. And I'll leave you with the first part and then open it up for questions. In 2006, they came out with a Framingham study that showed over 32 years this amazing group of people that were all obese that hung out with each other. Not even geographically. They were removed from each other, but because they had the same habits, the habits of disease, they all got overweight and obese together, even if they didn't live near each other. what we've done is reverse engineer it, and this is a community we've created, and the community is growing quickly. It's about people saying, you know what, we're raising our hands, we want to reach out, first get healthier inside, and then reach out and help others. And we're standing by to help anybody. And for those of you that are frustrated where you stand right now, reach out to your coach or reach out to the person that invited you on, because we can make a difference. Because as I showed you, we can no longer afford to rely on the medical delivery system of our country. That's the world I came from. Even in medicine now, we have thousands of doctors that are joining us as we move medicine to the third era, where we help our patients and our clients create health in their life. And the cool thing about it, there's the opportunity to join us and help us help others and pay it forward too. So I want to thank you, Shirley, so much. Your story is, to me, inspiring. It's the antithesis of what happened to those biggest losers. And by the way, we're standing by for those biggest losers to help them now create health in their life. There's still hope for them, even though their metabolic rate is lower, many times, just simply by making the conversion and now making this your orientation. We can help all people move from being the biggest losers to the biggest gainers, and the gain is optimal health. So thank you so much, Shirley, and thanks everybody. So let's just open it up for questions now.
Well, fantastic.
So there were no questions.
That was great, Connie.
Oh, I'm so glad that you got to
Really,
see him.
really good. Really
Yeah.
good.
Well, you can see the mission, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So now we'll move to our last slide. All right. Okay. Oh, I know where it is. It's over here. Boom. There we go. And our last slide. Gather here with grateful hearts. Thank you, Marsha. Yeah, it was good what you just said. So I'm going to make this small so I can see you guys. Your greatest takeaway tonight and what you want to share. That's going to be the way we end our huddle tonight. My greatest takeaway tonight is just how much we all have gained from it's one man's idea. The fact he partnered with Mr. McDonald was the blessing for all of us. But none of us would be here tonight had we not had this in common. And what I want to share most is I'm glad Lisa's home from the hospital. I'm doing well.
Yes, yes.
I'll pass it to Dorothy.
She's muted.
Oh, I gotta unmute you. Let me unmute you. Everybody unmute themselves.
All right. He's just an amazing man. I'm just so grateful that I got involved with this, and I love what the company stands for. Everybody is out to share and get other people healthy. So that's my greatest takeaway. And I want to share, Dawn was unable to come tonight. She was having a spasm, at the time that it started. So we'll go to Bird Mom.
Okay. The greatest takeaway tonight is basically Dr. A talking about the optimum health and that it's not willpower doesn't work. That's why all the diets I've been on, it was almost like a matter of willpower. How long can I stay on it to lose my weight? And then after I lost my weight, the willpower kind of like folded and I started putting back the weight. So this was really, really important to me because I'm at that point right now where I'm making sure that it is a lifestyle change and I am not going to put this weight back on. And what I want to share most today is I thought this was one of the best Zooms ever. I really did.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, really, it was good. Oh, okay, Tony?
Oh, my greatest takeaway tonight is this is all for my health. The longer I do this, the longer I'm going to live. The longer I'm going to live, the more I can aggravate people. It's not a win-win situation. So that's my takeaway. And what I want to share is this, it's great to see all of you. So I missed seeing you guys for a week. I mean, we have had 2 weeks and we haven't seen each other. So I really missed all of you. It's like my family, where are they? So glad to see you all. That's it, Lisa.
Okay. So my greatest takeaway tonight, and it's not something I didn't already know, is that you're constantly saying with choice comes change. And like I forget, Shirley was saying, when you put, not that we want to put weight back on, but I have done this. And when I do, I don't have the same reaction as I used to do. My reaction is now I got this and it's possible because I have the infrastructure and the ladder in place. And that's just the standard. But yeah, that was my takeaway. And what I want to share most tonight is I'm going to echo Poppy, is that I missed everybody so much. And it just goes to show the power of our family here, that Mommy and Poppy, instead of doing Zoom last night, I had been moved to the hospital and they were right there, Johnny, on the spot. So as are all of you. So I appreciate all of you. And I'm going to pass it to Martha.
I think my takeaway tonight is to bring back the focus of what I had when I started. Sometimes as you go along, you kind of like start drifting. And I think I did start doing that and things. And to know that our focus is to continue on this journey. And it's not just a temporary thing. It is a lifetime change of your lifestyle. And without it, I don't, I just can't imagine what my life would have been without it if Dick and I hadn't done the program. And what I want to share tonight is just how great it is to know that you people are there to everything. And I hope I can be there for you guys too when you need it. It's just, we've got a great team.
That's excellent.
See,
there's always going to be another birthday party. There's always going to be another party. There's always going to be another celebration. That's not going to change, but we can change. Make better choices.
Has Dorothy gone?
No, I'm here.
Okay, Dorothy.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I would like to add something that I wholeheartedly concur with Bird Mom. I always look so forward to what I call our Zooms, but this is by far one of the best. And so thank you very much for what you do for us. And Dorothy, this was an awesome, awesome suggestion. I concur wholeheartedly.
I think so too. I think it's turned out really well. It's odd though that I picked Stop, Challenge, and Choose for my teachable moment today. I didn't know you were going to do this. Yeah.
I'm going to get in there and read it shortly.
Yeah.
And Lisa, we can get together tomorrow. Martha, you were going to say something to Dorothy?
I forgot.
You forgot? So good night, everyone. I'm going to stop the recording.